who are not here, you join us. So good day, everyone. Nice having you all in class today. This is quality management system training. So today we're going to be looking at purchase and inventory. So we're going to be looking at purchase and please don't look at the module, just look at the topic. So we're going to be looking at purchase and inventory. So we'll be looking at purchase and inventory. So the course objective is to describe the step required to implement an inventory control program in the healthcare or the laboratory setting. Next is to name factors that should be considered in procurement and supplies. Next, develop a monitoring and continuous monitoring plan for the inventory system. Next, we'll discuss the importance of documentation related to purchase and inventory. They will discuss generally the challenge, the benefit, and the importance of purchasing and inventory control as it relates to quality management system. By way of introduction, achieving and maintaining and improving accuracy, timeliness, and reliability of a product or a result are major challenges for healthcare organizations and healthcare laboratories, not exception. Now, this course is intended to provide a comprehensive reference on purchasing and inventory as it relates to quality management system based on the ISO 15189 and the CLSI GP 2683 document. Now, purchase and inventory, being one of the 12 quality system essential, is needed to be addressed in order to assure quality. Remember that every of the 12 quality system essential has to be addressed for your organization, for your department, for your healthcare institution, for your laboratory to enjoy the quality, to get the assured quality. Now, a laboratory is a complex system, and all aspects, including the purchase and inventory, must function properly to achieve quality. So it's necessary that if you don't understand purchase and inventory, or if you don't have a good purchase and inventory system, you're going to mess up the quality of your process, the quality of your results. Remember that without reagents, without supplies, you can't do much in the department. So it is needed that they expected that you have a documented procedure that and a system that capture your purchasing and your inventory, because stock management is key, inventory management is key. These ensure that results are delivered in a timely manner. Remember that we said the three key indicators of a quality result is the result has to be accurate, it has to be reliable, and it has to be what? Timely. Now, this is it, part of the 12 quality system essential, purchase and inventory. We have looked at organization, personnel, equipment, and today we look at purchase and inventory. So what is the role of purchase and inventory in the quality management system? One, it helps in efficient and cost-effective operations that is needed to bring about uninterruptible availability of reagents, supplies, and services. Because if there are no reagents, if there are no supplies, it will bring disruption in the operations. Now, the management of reagents and supply in any laboratory is often a challenging task. However, proper management of purchasing and inventory can produce a cost saving in addition to ensuring supplies and reagents are available when needed. So when you're able to manage your supplies within the laboratories, it will help you to save costs, it will help you to ensure that reagents are available, to help you to ensure that reagents are not overstocked or reagents is not understocked. Purchasing and inventory are designed to ensure that all reagents and supplies are readily available and are of good quality. They are in good condition. In other words, they are transported in good condition, they are used in good condition, they are stored in good condition in a manner that it preserves the integrity and the reliability of that result. Remember that Your reagent, your supplies are part of your raw materials, your input. If the input is garbage in, then you have garbage out as a result. Imagine having a quality control that has for a refrigerated item or a cold chain item that the cold chain has been broken several times. You see that it's beginning to give you a lot of issues during your quality control. It gives to give you a lot of issues during your testing, during your process of bringing out the good results. So it is very, very challenging, and that's the reason why we must have a design to ensure that these reagents, these supplies are readily available, they're in good quality, they are stored appropriately, they are transported appropriately in a manner that preserves the integrity and the reliability of those reagents and consumables. What are the benefits of purchasing an inventory management program? What is the benefit? It is helping in establishing a purchase and inventory management program. We ensure that one, supplies and reagents are available when needed to help you to have high quality reagents that are obtained at the appropriate cost. Reagents and supplies are not lost to improper storage or kept or used beyond expiration date. A lot of some facilities that, especially in this part of the world, that use reagents when they have expired. You can't use an expired reagent and expect to have a good or a quality result. Now, what are the challenges of the purchasing and inventory management program? Now, the challenge of inventory and management program is the ability to balance the availability of the supplies and reagent in stock with the expiration date. These are some of the challenges. Other challenges include the lifespan of reagent can vary from weeks to weeks or from weeks to years, depending on the equipment, depending on the reagent. Now, it is important to continuously monitor the expiration date to make sure needed reagents are always on hand and have not expired. However, it is too costly and wasteful to overstock. In the process of you trying not to run out of stock, you want to overstock. If you overstock, especially if it's a private organization, this may lead to shortage in cash flow and the way. Why? Because you have spent a lot of money in buying reagent that is not needed at that particular time. So your money will be kept somewhere. Now, equipment and supply received or accepted must meet the client and the operational need of the organization. So you don't just receive reagent, receive supplies, and just go and dump it there in the facility or dump it there in the lab. They must be able to meet what the operational need of the organization. Managers may sometimes need to refuse a third-party donation, but this should be done diplomatically. Let's say, for example, someone is giving you a reagent, giving you a supply, giving you a kit, and if this kit is not meeting up to the expected use, such reagents should not be accommodated. Now, these are the benefits of inventory management program. Now, we look at some of these programs. Supplies and reagents are always available. The quality is maintained, helps to minimize wastage, helps you to stay within budget, and etc. What are the components of purchase and inventory management? What are the components? What should be looked out for? What should be the things that we must have? What are the process and the program that must be put in place if you must have an effective purchase and inventory management program? Please, if you can hear me, you can type on the chat box. You can hear me loud and clear. I just want to ensure that all of you are following. If you can hear me, so please type on in the chat box. Thank you. So we're looking at the components for purchasing and inventory management. I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, please, can you type? Yes, I can hear you. Okay, thank you. I just want to ensure that every one of us is adequately following. Okay, I proceed. Now, one of the components of purchase and inventory management is vendor and manufacturer's qualification. The vendors and the manufacturer qualification there must be a documented procedure for vendors and manufacturer qualification. Now that before you onboard a vendor that supplies you or a manufacturer that supplies you, there must be some certain criteria. There must be some certain things that has to be that the vendor and the manufacturer has to meet before such is qualified to supply you reagent and consumables. So there must be a documented procedure and the qualification. What are the qualifications? Let's say, for example, now an organization that is a vendor that is supplying you cold chain, you need to know, you need to refrigerated that, you need to know if they have a cold chain, you need to know how they ship their reagent, how this thing is being preserved, a whole lot of this. So you must look at it. Don't just go and get somebody from the roadside or because he wants to do business and begin to sell reagents and consumables to you. At the end of the day, there could be mismanagement, there could be mishandling of those reagents, and this can invariably affect the quality of your result. Next, there must be a purchase agreement. So purchase agreement is an agreement between the buyer and the seller. So those purchase agreements has to go with, okay, this is what we are buying it. This is the maintenance agreement. This is the possess services that will be rendered and a whole lot of things. So those things has to be documented and has to be available. Now, next, you need to have receiving, please listen, receiving, inspecting, testing, storing, and handling of materials. So there must be documented procedure on how you receive reagents, receive materials, how you inspect them, how you test them, how you store them, and general handling of all the material. This thing must be evidence-based. It's not that you go to a lot of facilities in this part of the world, okay, we do it. Now, where the evidence that is being done? No evidence. And remember, if there's no evidence that is being done, it is not done. So if it is not documented, it is not done. And you can't document what is not done. I hope I'm communicating. So you must have your receiving template, inspection templates, your process for storing refrigerated item, non-refrigerated item, handling of materials. All this has to be properly documented. Next, you have to have procedures for tracking materials to individual patients or to whoever. Let's say, for example, you have to send something to a particular patient or particular center. You have to have ways of tracking them. Assessing and maintaining inventory. So you must have a documented process on how do you assess your inventory, how do you maintain the inventory, then how do you control expiration period? Because there's usually this temptation of when reagents and stocks are expired, there's a tendency that we want to keep using them. Oh, it's still working. It's still working. Yes, it's still working, but just like you, how many of you will want to put an expired drugs into and want to take an expired drugs? No, you don't want to do that. So why will you keep using an expired reagent to be able to run samples? So you have to ensure that there's a method, there's a laid down procedure on removing expired reagent. Do you know that for you to have an expired reagent in the fridge is a non-conformity, even when you have not used it? For it to be found in the working area, not labeled as expired, it's a non-conformity. So there must be a procedure for controlling expiration period. Some organization will say, okay, when a region is getting to a point where it's going to expire, they could run promo, they could do a lot of things, they could ship it to other location, or want to sell it out, or want to give it to neighboring organization to be able to use it up before such reagent and consumable is expired. All depend on the organization and depending on the system that is being put in place to ensure that this is done. Next, dispatching supplies to satellite laboratory. Let's say, for example, you do a general a central procurement system. And let's say, for example, maybe the head office is in one location and you need to ship to satellite location or to other sub-neighboring state. You must have a procedure for dispatching these supplies and ensure that these supplies are transported in the right condition and the right temperature, and ensure that it delivers to the satellite lab. Let's say, for example, I could remember some place, let's say, for example, you are shipping a particular reagent in a ref item. So you put ice pack and you send it. Maybe you now send it to road transfer instead of it to send it 2 flights for it to get to the same day or maybe 24 hours, depending on the distance from the main place to the satellite place. And it's like something that happened and the means of transport, the road transport got bad, and the item now has to spend close to 5 days, 6 days on the road. So you see that at the end of the day, they're likely gonna have issues with such region because one cold chain would have been broken, the ice pack was not changed, a lot of stuff like that, and also there must be procedures for dispatching supplies to satellite laboratories or organization. Now, what are the quantification? So when we look at quantification, we look at why, when, how, all these are quantification based method for inventory. We look at consumption based quantification. So the consumption based quantification has to do with the quantification based on your consumption. Let's say, for example, a particular department, particular unit, particular location consumes 50 packs of HIV kits in a month. So when you are making a request, when you quantify based on that and put your logistics and put uh your safe stock and every other thing alongside. Then what is mobility? Mobility-based quantification. Mobility-based quantification, let's say for example, there's a prevalence of a particular disease at that particular time. So you could quantify based on that season, based on that disease at that particular time. Let's say in time of COVID or the time of now checking pulse and the rest of. So your quantification could be based on that aspect. That's mobility-based quantification. Now, when we look at next, we look at inventory control. Inventory control. In general sense, when we talk about inventory control, it's a method where all stocks of goods are properly and promptly issued. Now, they are properly issued, they are accounted, they are preserved in the best interest of an entity that handles its inventory, generally. So when it comes to business, inventory control is a method designed by top-level management of a company. It requires a strategic decision to take for its effective implementation. Its proper implementation is the responsibility of the store manager who takes an inventory or who is in charge of inventory or the inventory officer. Now, in academics, you can say, in academic perspective, you can say inventory control is a method of identifying those stock of goods which can be used for production of finished goods. It shall be supported by a schedule which gives details regarding the opening stock, the receipt of raw material, the issued material, the closing stock, and the scrap and that are generated. All those things are part of what inventory control. I hope that is clear. So now let's go a little bit deeper. I want to talk about inventory control. So have this perception. You who having a store, you working in a store. I hope we know that inventory management and the supply chain is not for some certain kind of profession. It's not for people. A lot of people. This is one of a very viable area, supply chain, inventory management. That even as a professional, you can venture into it and make a very good living out of it. Because the best person to control an inventory or to be involved in the supply chain of a laboratory should be a medical lab scientist or someone who understand these things and understand supply chain and understand also the technical aspect of it. So it gives you an added advantage. However, anyone could function in this role, but it's best something you could also pick up. Now, inventory control is a process of ensuring that appropriate amount of stock are maintained by an organization in order to meet the client's need without delay while keeping the costs associated with holding stock to a minimum. In other words, what we are trying to do in inventory control by ensuring that we have the adequate reagent, the adequate stock for us, for our production line, for us to be able to do the testing. However, we don't also want to keep too much stock that we have to now be holding for stock. That's what we call cost associated with holding stock to a minimum. Let's say, for example, now you buy a stock worth 10 million naira and you use average of a stock of 10 million naira. At the end of the day, you decide to buy for 10 months. So that's about 100 million naira. And at the end of the day, you're using 10 million naira. So at the end of the day, the rest 70 million naira, 80 million, 60 million naira is the cost that is associated with holding stock. Now, the process of managing stock once it arrives, the stock, it involves planning, optimizing the inventory for maximum benefit, and preventing the pileup of dead stock. Inventory control system informs the scientist or whoever that is in charge when to order, how to maintain an appropriate stock level to all products to avoid shortage and oversupply. Some of us will just keep using reagent, keep using until the last pack. Hey, we are stock out. Oh, no, there's no reagent. No, you don't do that. So as a professional, you have to ensure that you know when to order, how to maintain an appropriate stock level for your production or for your testing to avoid what shortage or oversupply. So a good inventory system must be able to balance between shortage of supply and oversupply. An example of an inventory control system is like a fuel gauge. uh, for those that drives, even though you don't drive, you have seen a fuel gauge. You see, when the fuel is filled up, you see a gauge. The galvanometer indicates that this fuel is filled up, the tank is filled up. So you must have a system that monitors. So you don't need to, how do you know that your fuel gauge, your fuel is low? You need to open your tank and start looking at the fuel. With the fuel gauge, that fuel gauge is a system that shows us what is the content of our fuel in the car. I hope that is making sense. If that is making sense, you can write on the chat box that you're following, and it's interesting. Okay, I hope we are following. Hope we are following and hope it's interesting. Yeah, the inventory control system. Supply chain is a very valuable aspect of any organization. In fact, it's one of the heartbeats of major operations management, because if you don't understand supply chain, you don't understand inventory management, it can mess up the whole of your operation, can mess up the whole of your system. It can even make the system look very, very, very unserious, make the client to be disgruntled, can make the patients to leave you to meet other competitors. Imagine someone coming to do test every time within your facility. I always say, oh, we don't have this region, we don't have this region. If they don't do the test with you, they'll do it with someone else. And when they get to someone else, they may not likely come back again to you. So this is a very key aspect. A lot of mismanagement, a lot of shortage, a lot of wastage in the laboratory is associated with supply chain inventory control. A little of more about the technical aspect. So if you can hear me loud and clear, please type on the chat box. Yes, I can hear you. So we can proceed further. So can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Okay, thank you. So that gives me the courage to proceed further, uh, what we are doing today. So now let's look at some of the inventory control system. We have what we call the max-min inventory control system. There are two types of max-min inventory control system. This max-min inventory control system is maximum and minimum inventory control system. One, first ordering system, in which the trigger for ordering is the end of the review period. So for you, this period of review is majorly when there is, at the end of a particular period, that's when the order is being done. So continuous review system is which the trigger for ordering is when the facility reaches the minimum level. So when you order in this control system, you order when the reagent has got to a minimum level. So if for that, it means that you must have established a minimum reagent level for each of your stock.
Let's say, for example, now if um you use 20 packs in a month of, let's say, an HIV kit, you can say, okay, your 2 week stock, depending on your lead time is the time which you initiate a process to the time it's completed. Let's say, for example, if you order a reagent, now how long will it take? Some person buy from from foreign country, some person from one state to the other. So there's a time that stock will be available upon placing an order. So the time you place the order to the time you receive it is naturally known as what? Your lead time. It's known as what? Your lead time. So this lead time will help you to establish a minimum level. Let's say, for example, so this continuous review system in which the trigger for ordering. So the order here when the facility has reached the minimum level. Now, for standard system, in which the trigger for ordering is the end of the review period for the commodity that are at the minimum level. Now, let's look at the other inventory control system. Please, you can read this up. We have the ABC inventory control system. We have 3B system. We have just-in-time system. We have a sourcing system. We have computerized inventory control system. We have fixed order quantity. We have fixed period ordering. I'll just explain few for you. Please try and read them up. For the computerized inventory control system, in which everything is computerized. Maybe you could use your LIS, your laboratory management information system, or your healthcare information management system. So there is an order. So there's an order that goes in some advanced country, some of these big equipment companies, they don't even wait. They don't even wait for you to order. They have a system to monitor, to track. They see your consumption rate real time. And they know when it will be going. So when they see it, they just come and deliver. Why? Because there's already an agreement between the vendor and the organization. So having using a computerized inventory control system like your LIS or Sage or anything that you could use to ensure that the system is being computerized. The fixed order quantity. Fixed order, there's every particular time, let's say in a month, you use 4. So at every month, you just supply 4 kits of HIV, 4 kits of it. That's a fixed order quantity inventory system. We have fixed period orderings. Every 3 months, supply 30 packs. So you every three months, they supply 30 packs. So that's a fixed period ordering. So read up the ABC inventory control system, read up the 3 bin system, read up the just-in-time system, and you can also read up the outsourcing system as part of the inventory control system. Okay. Let's look at monitoring and controlling of inventory. I want to talk about monitoring and continuous monitoring of inventory. Procedure should be developed, please note that, and put in place for continuous monitoring of inventory. So every inventory, all the stock you have, inventory just like, okay, taking notes, like taking an account of your stock, of your reagent. So there must be a procedure to develop to put in place for continuous monitoring of the inventory. Let's say, for example, you can say if you have a central store and you have that central store, you also have the department. You can say, okay, every week you give, let's say, four packs of the kits to the department. Now, so the department should be able to have a stock count. They can say, okay, our stock count will be done weekly, 2 weekly, to ensure that we have the adequate stock. So as they are doing that, they are sending a report to the store, to the procurement team, and that is, they are also looking at it and they also making their informed decision. Next, you ensure this is done effectively. Because if it is not effective, then the purpose is defeated. Now, assign the responsibility of this task to an appropriate person or person. Someone must be in charge for monitoring it. In the department, within the central store, someone must be in charge. Because anything you don't keep, anything that someone is not responsible for, at the end of the day, nobody becomes responsible for it. Now, be sure that all supplies and reagents in the lab are covered by the system and maintain inventory management for all storage of it. So there must be a list for every item, including pencil, if you do. including some person using up to sellotape. You must have every item in the inventory list. You must maintain an inventory management. So, whether through a computerized system or through a semi-computerized system or through manual, there must be an evidence for your inventory management of all your stocks and the storage areas. Next, conduct weekly physical count of reagent and supply in order to check the system and as part of the monitoring process. So this is our recommendation. Um, so my recommendation is you can do a weekly physical count to be ensure that what you're having on papers is what you're having on ground. Make sure that all records relevant to inventory management are updated and maintained as at when due. As at when due. So let's look at this aspect. What are the documents that is associated to inventory control? If you must have a good inventory control system, what are the documents that are associated? One, stock acquisition form. Two, stock count template. Three, physical inventory purchase input, stock receipt form, stock return form, stock transfer form, stock transfer receipt form, inventory ledger, stock invoice and record. So I start with the stock acquisition form. This is the form or a template that is being used to make acquisition, to make requests. It's known as stock acquisition form, either as a department to the central store or to the store or the store or the store, the procurement system to the organization. However, there should be a template, a form. It could be manually, it could be manual based, it could be paper based, it could be computerized based. There must be a stock acquisition template. There must be a stock count template. So when you count your stock, where do you input it? This template is used to count your stock, whether in the department or whether in the store. Now, must be physical inventory purchase input. There should be stock receipt form. This form is the form that you use for every stock that is being delivered. There must be a place where it must be documented. The time it must be documented, how the condition at which it was brought, the temperature at which it was brought, they must be all contained in the receipt form. Who are the personnel that also receive the reagent or the consumables must also be documented on the stock receipt form. We have stock return form. Let's say, for example, a particular stock was issued out and you want to return, there should be a form that addresses it and say you don't just go and return it that way. They want to call stock transfer form. Let this happen maybe in location where there are multiple locations, and then a particular stock has been given to a particular department or a particular organization, a particular location. You could say, okay, I'm transferring this to this. So that form will help as a documented evidence to transfer stock from one department to another department, from one location to another location. We have stock transfer receipt form. The receipt form now is the you that is receiving it. That template that you use in receiving a stock that is given to you, known as stock transfer receipt form. Inventory ledger. All this, and this is a ledger that shows, document that shows all the inventories. Then purchase invoice and record. So all the items that have been purchased, the invoices and the record, then you cannot discard it except it is past your retention policy period. So within your retention policy period, all those invoices, all those records has to be there. This is capable of landing you into problems if you don't understand it. So you must keep every evidence of every purchase invoice and the record. Now let's look at utilization. What is laboratory utilization? What is utilization? Let's leave the lab or anything, could be anything utilization. So utilization is the process of strategically, please underline that word strategically, measuring how effective the reagent, the consumables are used, allocated, and controlled in a particular department, in a particular hospital, in a particular lab, in a particular organization. So these items that has been supplied, how are they used? How are they allocated? How are they controlled? That is utilization. Utilization is not just, okay, I gave you 4. At the end of the day, it's just 2 that is remaining. So utilization is just, no, utilization is not just a total head count. It's a strategic measurement of the effective laboratory reagent consumable, that how are they used, how are they allocated, how are they controlled in particular department, in particular unit. It's expected that all reagent consumable and other resources are well utilized by the end users. It could be a laboratorian, it could be a nurse, it could be a doctor, whoever, to minimize waste and maximize profit without compromising what? Quality. That is key. You have to utilize the resources, you the end user, to ensure that you minimize what? Waste. Waste is one of the things that makes company, the organization, not to be profitable. A lot of companies, a lot of departments, a lot of labs are wasteful. See them use reagent will not finish, the waste time expire then. So waste, if you can control waste, even in your personal life, in the things you do, you will enjoy profitability. Because sometimes some organization or some department will use let's say we use 10 million naira to produce organization, we use 5 million naira to produce a table. Am I communicating? So can you see my slide? If you can see, if you type on the chat box, I can see the slide. So the key message in utilization is to ensure that there's a control of how this thing is used strategically, how it is used, how it's disposed, how it's distributed. Then you ensure that you minimize waste, maximize profit without compromising what? Quality. That is key. So let's look at, okay, this is the ISO 2012. 2012. These are the clauses that address reagent and consumable in inventory management. Well, this has changed with the new 2022, but just like it's almost the same. So the laboratory shall establish an inventory system for reagent and what? Consumable. So the organization must establish an inventory system. All these things we have been discussing are things that you can put in place to establish what? An inventory system. Now, the system of the inventory control shall segregate an uninspected and unacceptable reagent and consumable from those that have been acceptable for use. Let's say, for example, there is a supply, and this reagent or did not meet the requirement, they must be separated from those ones that actually meet the requirement. Now, receipt and storage. Where the laboratory is not the receiving facility, shall be verified and the location has adequate storage and handling capability to maintain the purchased item in a manner that prevents damage or deterioration. But once a reagent is deteriorated, it's as good as that reagent has been wasted. The laboratory shall store, receive reagent and consumable according to the manufacturer's specification. They must be received and stored according to the manufacturer's specification. If the manufacturer says store within 2 to 6 degrees, don't go and freeze it or put it on the table and say, it doesn't mean, it means a whole lot. So you shall store the reagent consumable according to the manufacturer's what? Specification. Now, when we talk about receiving stock, there should be a documented procedure for receiving and storage of your stock. Now, upon receipt of the stock, the personnel receiving it must indicate
So if you pick a reagent and know who received this item, the stock received must be counted. Cannot just bring reagent or stock supply, just pack it and put in the store. It has to be counted. Check the quality of the stock that is received. Does the stock meet the standard requirements? These are part of things that will help you in your vendor qualification that we talked about earlier. Refrigerated item, which is also known as ref item, should be checked for cold chain and being documented properly. Because if the cold chain is destroyed, definitely it will lead toward deterioration. A lot of us run, especially in developing part of the world, we run our labs and hospital like a barber shop. You know what it's called a barber shop? When the customer is around, you on the generator, you on the light. When there's no customer, you switch everything, everything is off. So if you do that, you're going to have issues with a lot of issues with your reagent and your consumables. Signature and date of the receipt can be put on the body of the stock that is received. So you can sign on it and just for depending on your procedure, you can sign on it. Okay, it was received by AI, this is my signature, date, and etc. Now let's look at storage. Very important. Stock must be stored in a dry place for non-refrigerated item. You don't store a stock where there's wet. Store it in a way that the quality and integrity of the stock is not compromised. Store it in a way that the quality and integrity of the stock is not compromised. Room temperature for storage must be monitored. So where you keep your reagent, you must put a thermometer. That thermometer must be calibrated. That calibrated thermometer, and you must fill your log chart of that thermometer to check the temperature. Some of us who don't care, we just put it anywhere. Stock and should not be dropped anywhere. Even when it is in lab, ensure that where you are putting it is a controlled environment. Controlled environment and environment that can be controlled. The environment that you can use thermometer to measure the temperature, adjust the temperature, do a corrective action in case of deviant and the rest. Stock should be stored in a way that the stock can be easily accessed by the end user. Every fridge and freezer must have what? A thermometer. Please hear this. Every fridge and freezer must have what? A thermometer. If you can hear that, type it on the chat box. That every fridge and freezer must have what? A thermometer. And the kind of thermometer must be a thermometer that has been calibrated. So if you have a fridge that has a freezer up, up part is freezer, down is fridge, you have two thermometers. Thermometer for the freezer and thermometer for the fridge. So please take note. Please write, every fridge and freezer must have a thermometer. Type on the chat box. Just want to be sure that you are with me and you are hearing. That every fridge and freezer must have what? A thermometer. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I can see that. Yes, thank you. Every fridge and freezer must have a thermometer, a calibrated thermometer. Yes, that's the word. And this thermometer must be calibrated. How often? Minimum yearly. You have to be calibrated at least once in a year. Okay, in conclusion, a well-managed laboratory will have a system for inventory maintenance and purchasing. Now, the system requires planning, monitoring, analyzing the need, developing forms and procedures, and maintaining an inventory. Now, maintaining an inventory in the lab is a big business. It's a full-time business. Depending on the size of the organization, the size of the lab, or the size of the healthcare facility. The organization will maintain an inventory system for all reagent and supply that is used in the department, consumables, refrigerated item. You know, the purchasing supply chain department can even go beyond the technical, even the non-technical, including uniforms, including everything that you use. Biros, pen, some persons even as tiny as water. They are all part of what the purchasing system. So you must effectively plan. You must have documented procedure, or else you just keep having this disgruntled client. Oh, today there's stock out. The one there's no stock out. There's expirations. There's spare stock. I once worked in a system that with the millions of naira I saw on expired stock was alarming. That's one of the thing that was eating their profits. So the system will require planning, monitoring, please underline planning and execution, then monitoring. Because if you plan, you don't execute, you don't implement, nothing happens. Then when you have implemented, you must monitor to see that there is compliance. Remember the PDCA sector. During the process control, I will teach you what we call the PDCA sector: plan, do, check, and act. Process improvement sector. How you can use this to ensure that things are being done and being monitored. These are my references. If you have a question, you can type your question at the chat box. Why? I unmute the mic for you to ask your question verbally. So please, question.